Canada is absolutely furious, but is taking great delight in watching Donald Trump, his regime, and those who aid and abet it squirm after Donald Trump tried yet again to threaten Canada with 50% tariffs on hockey sticks and other items, thinking that would make Canada back down when all Canada is responding and retaliating against Donald Trump's desire to make Canada the 51st state, Donald Trump's predatory behavior and constant attacks on Canada. I guess Trump thought that I just get to bulldoze over the Canadian people and how dare they respond. And now that they respond, I want to make them suffer. So I'm going to do more tariffs. Well, Canada not only is undeterred, Canada has responded in a united way. Their premiers joining forces, people from different political parties. I mean, the NDP, Conservatives, Liberals joining together, the premier level, provincial level to the federal level, all standing up to the Trump regime and saying, what a pathetic regime you are. We're not backing down. No way, no ever. In Canada, we go elbows up. And then you're seeing the Trump regime squirm. You're seeing them squirm. I mean, the past 24 hours, one by one, you've got people like Pete Hoekstra, the disgusting human thing, who's the ambassador to Canada from the United States, the U.S. ambassador to Canada. He's like, you can't come into he's going to cry. You can't come into our country and run political ads against the president. Why would you play Ronald Reagan's words? So he's talking about how the premier of Ontario played a ad that featured the voice of Ronald Reagan that just gave a Ronald Reagan quote on tariffs. Right? The Republican, it was supposed to be the North Star for the Republican. But you can't run political ads with our political icon because we're a mega cult. Right? I mean, what losers. And Canada knows when it goes elbows up, they see weak, loser, whiny, no offense to babies, but fascist babies. Play this clip of Hoekstra. Let's play it.
You do not come into another country and run political ads against the president of the United States. We don't come into Canada and run political ads against the prime minister or a political party in Canada. That's not appropriate behavior.
Okay. And if you thought Hoekstra, the U.S. ambassador to Canada, was a whiny little fascist baby, Jameson Greer, you knew a Jameson Greer in your frickin' class, this loser, right? This guy's been a loser and just evil thing his entire life. And he's like, Canada's retaliatory measures, they've been in place for like at least a year. We've told Canada, eliminate the retaliation. Yeah, you idiot. Retaliate. Not going on you, Trump regime, attacked them. You did a trade war against them, said we want to take you over. You are still putting on these horrific tariffs, even though it's embarrassing. Hockey sticks, like, oh, we did hockey sticks. You got us there, Donald. You're attacking Canada while they're dealing with climate-related wildfires when Canada has always helped out the United States. You are trying to support secession movements in Canada. And so the people boycotting your American booze, retaliating, why are they so mean to us? Here, play this clip.
Canada has had its retaliatory measures in place on us for at least a year. Things like dairy have been discriminatory against the United States for even longer than that. So we have been considering, very tailored action to respond to those things, which we've done. So we have 3 separate actions: one for the hard cap that they've put on some of our cars, or the quotas and the system they put on our cars; the total ban they've put many of the provinces, on alcohol and liquor and that kind of thing, and then of course the what was the last one?
Dairy.
The dairy where they give the Europeans a better deal than we do. So this is something that's been in preparation for some time. We have tried for over a year to get the Canadians to eliminate these things. Again, we've given them the best treatment available in the world in the past year or so, and despite that, they've still taken these actions. So we thought it was necessary to elevate this.
And then Peter Navarro, one of Trump's other top national economic advisors, Jameson Greer, who I just played for you, is the trade representative. Again, these are all the worst human beings. Peter Navarro, a criminal. Peter Navarro claims that Canadian officials are some of the most dishonest people he's met. That's what he goes. He goes, I've never met more dishonest people in my life than Canadians. But it's a perfect litmus test, right? Only this group of MAGA criminal degenerates would look at the incredible people of Canada, the nice, loving, caring, good neighbor of Canada. Go, those are the bad guys. So who's the good guy? Delcy Rodriguez, Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping. Oh, do we like Xi Jinping today? Do we not like what Donald, cult leader, Führer? What do we do? Here, play this clip right here of Peter Navarro. Let's play it.
It's screwy, and we wind up with huge trade deficits. We lose jobs, wages go down. So that's the subtext. Now, Canada, going back to the first term. Yep, Chris. When Donald Trump got elected in 2016, Wilbur Ross and I were designated as the guys that started negotiating with Canada before we got the trade representative. Yep. And I can tell you that of all the people that I've dealt with on trade, Canada, love the people, but their negotiators, some of the most dishonest people I've ever met. They stab you in the back. And what they're doing with this particular set of tariffs is they have these enormous dairy tariffs, like triple-digit dairy tariffs. They refuse to back down on. They're screwing us in terms of hard alcohol. We have good alcohol distillers. And they're screwing us on auto parts, and they're doing it in a discriminatory way, which is why we're using this thing called 338, to the point where they're doing stuff to us at the same time that they're inviting the Europeans in wide open to their market. So the president says, no, this is not cutting it. And so what we did was we put tariffs on the three things in question, but because of the way it works, we had to throw in a few things like hockey sticks.
Yeah.
Okay, I did that.
I mean, I do think that you did allow me to do my Canadian impersonation. Yeah, I do appreciate that.
All right, I could show you more clips of Greer, but I think you get the point. Let me show you some of the Canadian responses right here. Wab Kinew, he's the premier of Manitoba, NDP. It's kind of their further left party, if you will, the NDP. Charlie Angus, who leads Midas Canada, he was part of the NDP party at the federal level. But Wab Kinew, premier, incredible premier, he goes, Trump's a vulnerable dude right now. Like, we all see how weak he is. Here, play this clip.
I think the American president is very vulnerable right now. The cost of living is a political disaster for Donald Trump. And a lot of people in Canada are saying in order for us to get a Kuzma deal, we should give him a win. But I'm wondering whether we should.
More from Wab Kinew on Donald Trump right here, the premier of Manitoba. He's like, if you're attacking us during wildfires, it really just shows that you lack basic human decency. When America has wildfires, Canada sends people to help. When we have wildfires, climate related, you attack us. Okay, that kind of is a reflection of just the horrible human beings that you are. Here, play this clip.
I have a lot of compassion and empathy for people who are out of their homes right now. We have some in Manitoba, but obviously it's far worse in Ontario. We went through that last year. So anybody who's making comments like that is not showing basic human decency. And I would remind our American friends that Manitoba had wildfire fighters in your country this wildfire season, helping to put out American wildfires. And we'll continue to do that no matter what. the Trump administration says, because that's what decent people do. They help each other during times of emergency. They don't try to capitalize for cheap political points.
You hear that? That's the sound of feeling good. I've been reaching for Olipop a lot lately because it gives you that classic soda taste, but it's the feel-good soda. And I love that they've refreshed the look of their 6-gram fiber line. It's that same Olipop I already loved, full of flavor and digestive health support, just with a fresh new look that really shows off the feel-good soda inside. I have the classic grape right here, which I have to say is definitely one of my favorites. Well, what makes it different? Olipop is high fiber, has less sugar than traditional soda, and it's made with real ingredients and a thoughtful formulation, including a functional ingredient blend that supports digestive health. It's one of those simple swaps that just makes you feel a little better about what you're drinking. If you want to give it a try, here is a great deal for you. Buy any 2 cans of Olipop in store, and they will pay you back for 1. It works on single cans of any flavor at any retailer. Just head to drinkolipop.com/Meidas to clip your coupon. That's drinkolipop.com/Meidas. You can find Olipop in the soda aisle and with the chilled beverages at thousands of retailers nationwide, including Target and Walmart.
Next up, you have Premier David Eby, British Columbia Premier, also NDP. I showed you yesterday, Liberal Party leader, well, Prime Minister Carney, but David Eby, he says Donald Trump is a wounded animal. A wounded animal. Let's play this clip.
I can see, just like everybody else, that Americans are frustrated with the rising cost of living. Today's tariffs are going to make their lives more expensive again, and demolishing CUSMA, if that's where the president's heading, is going to destroy businesses in the United States and hurt Americans as well, while he's going into a sensitive election cycle. So, I think that the opportunity is potentially there for us to resolve this. I hope it is. I am sure this is the president looking for a win, but he's also, to my mind, a wounded animal right now who is lashing out at friends and neighbors for inexplicable reasons. And so it's incredibly volatile. It's totally unpredictable. And if we want predictability for Canadians, if we want reliable economic opportunity, we've got to be looking to other places.
And more from Premier Eby of British Columbia. He says, the very idea that we have a trading partner with such deep relationship that's punishing us for failing to respond to trade negotiations that aren't happening when we've tried to speak to them and they don't want to talk to us, it kind of tells you everything you need to know, right? Here, play this clip.
Well, I think there is some hope that we'll be in conversations with the Americans, and that to me has seemed to be the big barrier, that Canada has been willing to engage in the conversations, but there's been nobody on the other end of the phone line. That's what makes this retaliation particularly frustrating. The idea that we have a trading partner with such a deep relationship that's now punishing us for failing to respond to trade negotiations that aren't actually happening. It's confusing, it's bizarre, and it's counterproductive, and it's going to make life more expensive for Americans.
More from Eby, again, the Premier of British Columbia, on the absurdity of this all. Let's play it.
Do you think the federal government, just as a final point, Premier Eby, that Mark Carney could be doing anything differently? You do see the criticism in some circles that Canada needs to get serious, needs to stop dragging its feet, needs to make a deal. My impression has always been the issue is more on the U.S. side, that they aren't necessarily ready to have the serious conversations yet. What is your sense of what the federal side could be doing differently to move this along more quickly?
Well, I mean, you can't negotiate with yourself, and you can try, and we can, give up all kinds of things and try to get the Americans to the table. But I think that would be a huge mistake. If the Americans don't want to have a conversation with us, then we've got to be looking to other places. If they want to have a serious negotiation, I do have the sense that the Prime Minister and his team are ready for that. But in the absence of that, it's really hard to fault them when we don't have a trade partner to negotiate with. And that's the absurdity of all of this is, you would think the guy who authored the book, The Art of the Deal, is looking for a deal. We're sitting down at a table. Right. But every impression I have is the complete opposite.
Right. And as we've seen with the bridge, what is a deal worth? I mean, that has a hangover. All of this is it not. The Gordie Howe Bridge deal was reopened and renegotiated and re-leveraged. Can you even trust a deal if you get it?
Well, we did get a deal with CUSMA. Prime Minister Trudeau and the president agreed. The president called the best trade agreement the world had ever seen. And here we are again. So that's why we need to be looking long-term to diversify.
More from Wab Canoe about nothing uniting us like a common opponent. You want to bring Canadians together? We've got a common opponent right now, Trump and this despicable regime. Let's play it.
How united is Team Canada right now?
Very united. We had the First Minister's call, I guess it was yesterday also, with the Prime Minister. And I think nothing unites like a common opponent. And there's no more popular opponent in Canada right now than Donald Trump.
Now you've got Doug Ford right here. Doug Ford, the conservative premier over in Ontario. Doug Ford says the following. Let's play it.
Remember, Donald Trump said it was the greatest deal ever, the first go around. Now I guess it's not the greatest deal.
Yeah, he should find whoever negotiated that and give him a piece of his mind.
Yeah.
More from Doug Ford right here. Let's play it.
Everyone's seen President Trump in action. He's sitting with the Prime Minister the night before, all buddy-buddy, and next thing you know, he wakes up and wants to throw on 50% tariffs?
Yeah, the World Cup.
I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him.
And let me just share with you Jamieson Greer at this hearing that took place earlier yesterday. This is when Senator Bennett cross-examined Jamieson Greer. Let's play it right here.
And how are you approaching the risk of retaliatory tariffs from Canada now that you've imposed 50% duties on a wide range of products that were previously exempt? What economic effects do you anticipate you're creating for farmers and ranchers as a result of those tariffs?
So, Senator, for context, when President Trump left office his first term, we had an ag trade surplus. By the time Biden left, we had an ag trade deficit.
With respect,
and now
Mr.
we're back
Besser,
on the road to surplus.
That is not an answer to my question, nor is it an answer to the crisis that our farmers and ranchers
The crisis
are facing.
came from President Biden.
The fact that is irrelevant to the discussion.
We went into deficit under President Biden.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask my question, please? Or could he answer the question? The surplus and the deficit is a result of the fact that you have made it more expensive for us to buy products from other places. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the question I'm asking you, which is, are you going to use the negotiation with the USMCA to make sure that we are improving the position of our farmers and ranchers with our closest trading partners rather than continuing to undermine their position, which has been undermined from the very beginning of this administration till today? That's the question. And a partisan discussion about Biden versus Trump, that's not what our farmers and ranchers are looking for. And by the way, speaking of free market capitalism, I'll tell you what they're also not looking for. They're not looking for another direct payment from this administration to try to make up for the screwed up trade policies that it's followed with respect to agriculture.
And then Senator Wyden's cross-examination. Let's play it.
Sir, let me start with the proposition that it just seems to me that on tariffs, the administration has lost the plot. And in particular, let's look at what happened in the last couple of days. Just a few days ago, Canada, our closest neighbor, basically learned they were going to get 50%, tariffs. At the same time, when it comes to China, one of the biggest trade cheats there is, it seems that the administration rolls out the red carpet. You're standing up a so-called board of trade to lower tariffs on goods from China. It looks like you've thrown in the towel. So a couple of questions, yes or no. When the new tariff on Canada takes effect, will Canada have higher tariffs than China on some products?
On a small handful, China's by far much higher than Canada overall, by far. No question.
Well, let me work through that, math. I mean, the 50% tariff is higher than a number of tariffs on China.
So we have 100% tariffs on EVs coming in from China. We have about 45 to 50% on most things coming in from China. We have a small handful of goods, about $20 billion worth of goods coming in from Canada. All the steel and aluminum from China, well over 50%, some in triple digits.
The question is, are there some areas where the Canadian tariffs are higher than China's? And it seems to me that 50% is the accurate one.
We can do an analysis because we have stacking tariffs on China that don't apply to other countries. So we're happy to get back to you. But overall, China is by far subject to very high tariffs.
We'll look forward to having that information on the record because our staff believes that there are instances where the Canadians are going to pay higher tariffs than the Chinese are, and that's not right.
And then Senator Warren's cross-examined. Let's play it.
So Donald Trump campaigned for office, going out every day promising that he would lower costs for American families on day one. Then he takes office and he slaps tariffs on and off and on and off nearly every product that we import. Americans are now paying for it. Based on an analysis from the Congressional Budget Office and the Treasury Department's own numbers, Trump's tariffs are cost families an average of $1,700. And that was before his illegal war in Iran pushed prices even higher. So Ambassador Greer, over a year ago, you sat in this very room, and my Democratic colleagues and I asked you about Trump's chaotic across-the-board tariffs and said they will drive up prices. And you said, no, we can have tariffs and lower prices. Well, now we have the receipts. So let's just clear this one up. Ambassador Greer, have Trump's tariffs increased prices for American families?
Senator, no. Core inflation fell to 2.6% year on year. Much better than in January 2025.
So you're saying that what the Congressional Budget Office and the Treasury Department's own numbers, that families are paying an average of $1,700 more. Are you saying your own Treasury Department and your own Congressional Budget Office just don't know what they're talking about?
Well, I'm interested in seeing what Treasury numbers you're talking about. No one's given them to me to look at, so I want to verify those.
Actually, they've been out there in public now for at least the last 6 months. They've been widely distributed because families are paying more. And there's no serious economist around the country. There's no serious person who looks at those numbers and thinks that families are doing better. Trump's tariffs mean that families have paid, on average, $1,700 last year. And now the United States Supreme Court has said that those tariffs were illegal and that the Trump administration has to give people their money back. So far, the administration has been slow walking. Ambassador Greer, are American consumers going to get any refunds on the tariffs that were illegally collected from them?
So, Senator, when the court ruled on this, they did exactly what the Democratic attorney generals who sued asked to do, which was to give money back to the companies, foreign and domestic, that paid the tariffs. That's what Democratic attorney generals asked to do. They didn't say give it to consumers.
So
they said give it to companies. So that's what we have to do.
I understand
so we have to
how
do.
They got standing. But the question I'm asking the administration, are you going to get money back to the American people who paid more?
And then let's hear what some of the Canadian folks had to say. Let's hear what the Canadian folks had to say. Let's play it.
These are children shouting at each other in recess. This is not how adults should behave. This is not how reasonable people should behave. But we got the most unreasonable, infantile person in charge of the U.S. right now.
It's not going to impact our business. First of all, we don't sell any equipment to the United States. And the United States, most of the major manufacturers have their own distribution hub. So, for example, anything coming from Thailand or China goes directly to feed the American hockey market. And same with Canada. Canada has the same distribution center.
There you have it, everybody. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you. Before you go, our book, WTF America, is available for pre-order now. It's the story of how we got here and how we fight our way back. To pre-order, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.